Good morning, friends. We are going to be doing a little bit of care and maintenance on my Berkey filter, specifically this one. But I wanted to do a little bit of an intro to the filters and to what we have and what we ultimately changed to, and some considerations about the filters, how to care for them, or at least how we do it. It's not, set in stone or guaranteed, but at any rate, a lot of people in self-sufficiency communities and homesteadings end up having a filter like this because you may have rainwater catchment, you may have a well, which is our situation. That's how we get our water. We do not have anything from a municipality. It is not treated. And so we have to take the responsibility ourselves to make sure that our drinking water is potable, right? It's probably fine, right? But you never know. And up here in Appalachia, there's a lot of runoff, drilling, mining, whatever, that you could end up having a few things that could be somewhat harmful to your health. So making sure that you end up having a good, healthy drinking water is important. You have that responsibility. You can take, your tap water, or whatever, take it to your local municipality. A lot of times they do testing, but it's very basic testing. They're looking for like E. coli and some other things. If you want heavy metals and things like that, a lot of times you have to package up your water, send it off to a lab. It runs several $100s as far as I understand. The last time I had checked, probably more expensive by now, to see what other kinds of, things are in your water. So anyway, we had, from well before we had moved out here to the homestead, in our suburban home in Florida, we had this guy here. This is a Big Berkey, okay? This holds 2.5 gallons of water. Now, one of the things that happens with all the Berkey filters, doesn't matter as far as I know the size, is that when you fill your chamber up to the very tippy top, it's not going to fill up all the way here. You're going to have a little bit of a gap. So what we do, same thing for the Royal Berkey, we end up filling it all the way up, and then I would come back a little bit later, put it that way, and fill it up again a little bit more, so that pretty much the bottom chamber that holds all the filtered water is completely full. Okay. 2.5 gallons, 2.25 gallons. This holds 3.25 gallons. And it's the same deal with this one, is that I would always fill it a little bit higher. Now this one, when you have the filters, it's kind of hard to see with tipping it. I'll show it to you on the Royal, because this actually has filters in it. This we've have had in storage. The filters come almost pretty much to the tippy top. You might have literally a half an inch to the very top with the Big Berkey. And so as you're filtering, the very top of the filter can filter water, but you don't have the opportunity for a lot of water to filter through the top, because it goes right down, and the overwhelming majority of the water goes through the sides and the very, very bottom. Okay, and I'll show you part of the problem that we have here, specifically on a well, and the sediment that gets into it. In my old place in Florida, I didn't have a stand, because I had a nice place closer to my sink that I could take the wand and fill it up, and we could dispense the water, and it was fine. There were no issues. But in this kitchen, I don't have that. I needed a stand, so I had purchased this stand. We used this for a while. We actually used the whole system for years, and then we were finding that we needed more water. And 2.5 gallons a day, I keep saying that, 2.25 gallons a day, for 2 adults and a dog, because we do give the dog filtered drinking water, because we think that that's just basic common sense. If it could cause any kind of problems for us, it would cause problems for the dog. We don't want to have additional vet bills, whatever. So we felt like we were needing more filtered water on tap in the storage tank, whatever. So we decided to go ahead and upgrade to that. We also upgraded to the stainless steel spigot. This is what it comes with. And we did this because we just felt it was a little bit more durable. Never had a problem with this though. And this also, the stands are an additional add-on as well. sadly, I had these are sized for each unit. It's not like you have a universal stand, one that will fit for whatever. And I guess that kind of makes sense when you have water. You don't want to have an super oversized stand and your spigot won't fit or what have you. But it would be nice if maybe you could have, like for these two sides, because this is one step up. So like you could have one stand that would have fit for both of those. But that's just me being persnickety. This filter on the very top, you'll have actually quite a number of inches above the very top of the filter, so that you'll have more opportunities for the water to go actually directly from the top to filter down. I think it uses the filter better, if you will. The whole filter is submerged for a longer period of time, and the whole filter can more evenly filter versus this one. Like I said, you just get a little tiny bit above the filter, and then it's all the work goes all to the sides of the filter and the very bottom. For two adults and a dog, this is fairly good for us. If we had more people in the house, we would probably need more. So, sizing as far as what you may need for your household, however many animals or people in your house, I would say step up. Don't go, because they'll talk about how quickly these things will filter, how many gallons in an hour. But I will tell you, one of the things that ends up happening is they get clogged, or I don't want to say clogged, but they get a buildup in them, and they have to be cleaned. The whole unit has to be cleaned. Every so often you got to take everything apart, wash it, whatever. And I have had a problem because of the well and the sediment and stuff like that gets into the filter, is that I've done a little bit of a special procedure to clean them. And that's what I basically wanted to show you today. So let me change perspectives and we'll start taking this apart. Okay, so the first thing, a little bit of an echo, I have the top off, is when it's time, one of my gauges that I use for when it's time to actually clean this guy is the very top. Well, it's filtered, but there's a little bit of water left in it. Didn't filter all the way, so I know that things are getting a little bit gunked up and stuff, and it's getting on time. And also how slowly the water will filter, because when this is filtering, that it'll just like you'll hear it. It sounds like rain coming down in an empty bottom chamber. It's been running slow, so I know it's time. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick before I take it apart is this is the bottom, and it's got wing nuts and these rubber grommets. That's how it goes, and this is the actual filter, the bottom part where the water comes out from the center here, and then the top of the filter, and it will be hard to see in a 2D image, but my finger can go down that far. Okay, so I fill this up to the very top of the lip here, so that's how much more volume you can fill up the Royal Berkey rather than the Big Berkey. Like I said, the Big Berkey, it would just be just above this filter. So the Big Berkey, for comparison sakes, is not much larger than the filter itself. Okay, so this is I don't know, however long that is, 4 inches or so. And obviously the higher filters, the bigger size filters and stuff, because I want to say the biggest one is like 7 gallons or something. It's quite large. So you'll obviously have much more volume above. So let me go ahead and taking this apart is super easy. You just take the wing nut and unscrew it, and then you'll get everything off, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so now I have the filters out, and I just wanted to show you the inside of the upper chamber. I know it's quite reflective, but you can see there's almost like a little raised pedestals almost where the filter's set. There's some sediment down in there. I have somewhat hard water. It's kind of white looking on the sides, particularly up at the top. I don't know if that's any better. But that is from the minerals and the brown-ish that comes from the sediment of my well. This will all get scrubbed and cleaned. The little wing nuts and the rubber grommets, they will all get scrubbed with soap and water as well. And let me take this off of my stand real quick, and I want to try and show you the actual. Let me turn this around. I run 4 filters, okay, and these are the carbon filters. You can see, like, down here, this coloration. This is all like just sediment from my well. Okay, it just happens. I have a well. I don't have a pre-filter on it or anything like that. So what I do, because it is, I have found necessary, I soak my filters, and I will just fill up my sink and let them soak. And then I have, what's recommended by Berkey is these little blue scrubbies, and I use this unfortunately for dishes and stuff too. This is softer, I believe, than the green, and so I will, after these soak, I will scrub everything down, and then rinse everything, and then you will have to prime, even with them having just been used or whatever. But for some reason, when you soak the filters, it changes the priming. So you have to reprime the filter. It's no big deal. I'll show you how to do that. All right, so the filters have been soaking. The water's pretty clear, but you'll see here in a second, and I just start scrubbing, everything will start to mucky up. And I don't know if you saw it in the very beginning, but there was some bubbles that were coming out, and that's what messes up the priming. That's why when you soak it like this, you end up having to reprime it. It's just basically a stream of water that goes down to the outlet. So compared to where it was, now scrubbed, that's a lot dirtier. That's all sediment. And then the last thing that I do is I actually wash the entire filters with soap and water, because I like to end up having this very clean, and then I'll prime it, and I'll show you that. Priming, which this is cleaned, it's draining a little bit. See how that little bubble of water right there, that's what it'll ultimately look like. But you start with, getting a stream of water. And then you should see as it primes, it'll start to glisten. A little bit coming out right in through there. I'm having some difficulty focusing, but that is the water that's finally starting to get up into the filter and get primed. Okay, and then the last thing about priming, I just used a stream of water into the filter itself, is that you can get, I think these are little kits. Sometimes this one, I believe, comes with some of the systems that you order. Basically, it's a priming assistant for your faucet. This larger hole, and then there's a smaller hole. This larger hole goes where the faucet would be, and then underneath here is sized for the filters. And you would turn on a stream of water. It kind of forces it. I've had difficulty, just for whatever reason with mine, that the water will bulge out in the center, and it doesn't want to prime as easily if I just kind of take my time with the faucet. It does work though. My filters are, gosh, probably about 4 years old now or so, and I know, they talk about the lifespan of a filter being something like maybe 13 years what have you. And I don't know if that's true or not, because like I said, I'm on a well. There's for sure going to be more bacteria. There's going to be more things that are in the well. It's not treated in any way, shape, or form. I don't have a pre-filter on it, so the sediment and that kind of stuff. So the overall life expectancy of my filters are probably going to be, I'm going to suspect about half, but I'm not 100% sure. The other thing that I do when I'm having a lot of problems is I had bought this priming bulb. You can kind of see it. It's a one-way bulb, so that what you can do with this one is either prime the water, so you would end up screwing the filter onto the one side, and then here you could like have it in a dish of water or something, and then you would end up taking the water from the dish and it goes through the bulb and it goes into the filter, and you can prime it that way. The other way, you have to flip the straws, if you will, is actually if you want to take your filter and remove all the water from it. Say you're going to store it for a while, you're not going to use it for whatever reason, you're moving, and you need to remove all the water. So you can actually take it so that this way you can help get all of that water out. So it's dry, it will dry, and then you can leave it. You're not going to end up having some kind of funky mold issue or something like that later. One of the things that I do with this, because I'm still using my filters, is that if I feel like my filters are getting particularly clogged because of the sediment, I've used this to kind of help move that sediment, if you will, within the filter, so that when I soak it and when I prime it again, that some of that can get removed from the filter, and I feel like I end up getting a better flow rate out of the filter. So these are just some of the things that we do in order to make sure that we have potable water here on the homestead, and it's worked great for us for the last 5 years here, and I don't even remember how many years before, 5 or so years before, when we lived in a suburb in Florida. So anyway, I hope it was helpful for you, and God bless America, and remember that you are the gold. Take care, y'all. Bye.